We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports. We hope that you guys are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. Huge show in store for you tonight. Listen to me. LSU can win this game. Saturday at 11 a.m. A sold-out crowd. Brian Kelly calls for the Tiger fans to rally, and by Tuesday, not even 24 hours after Coach Brian Kelly asked for the stadium to be sold out, here come the Tigers. The line on the bet online, Zachy, the line keeps moving down for the Tigers. Is there something that they know that we don't? Is Hendon Hooker really that healthy? Or is it that he has wide receivers dropping like flies? You can do it, man. I'm telling you. I will preach this all week. It's going to be tough. It's going to be challenging. You can do it. You can do it. Offensive struggles people worrying about, I have a feeling they're about to get fixed. At least they're going to attempt it. They're going to attempt it. Nevertheless, it's going to be a great show. So we'll start off with a Ruffino's Rants. People kind of got mad at me today. I wasn't going to even talk about this. Won't spend long on it. I just want to make a comment about what I asked today about Tom Brady and Brett Favre. I will spend a minute on it because I really don't care. I just make one comment and all of Facebook and Twitter goes wild. Come on, man. Tom Brady getting a divorce to Giselle, his wife, is not that big of a deal. What we should be talking about is why the Saints are sucking. That's what we should be talking about. Nevertheless, I might not even hit it. I will, though, tell you why LSU can win this game. After going back and watching Tennessee film, they are susceptible to giving up runs and big runs. Can this running back core and offensive line that we saw a week ago, a lot of people said the offensive line played horrid. You can't run the football against any SEC team for close to 200 yards rushing, and they're quote-unquote horrid. Jane Daniels can't be holding on to the ball too long, and your O-line be horrid. I think you have an advantage there. That's one key piece of why I think the LSU Tigers can prevail here. We'll give you some more later on here tonight. Memphis Spence, who does his top 16 poll every single week, has your LSU Tigers at number 15. Also has Tennessee at number 8. So a clash of top 15 teams in Death Valley at 11 a.m. Obviously, him being in Memphis, he sees a lot of Tennessee, watches and covers all of college football, but knows more about Tennessee than most. We will get into him, what he thinks about this game this Saturday. We will get to the Saints struggle. I told you we missed it last night. I told you not to hire Dennis Allen. I told you it's going to be rough if you do to start off. They pulled an LSU. They hired from within. Dennis Allen, look, you're going to have struggles. This is the National Football League. The number one thing is you probably should have gotten rid of Pete Carmichael. It's my ultimate opinion. Said it all season and got ripped for it. We'll get to that. And as we do every Tuesday and Thursday, hashtag Ask Blake. If you have comments, concerns, thoughts, throw them in here. Throw them in here, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. We'll get to one of them. Dwayne Coleman on Facebook says, not a damn thing wrong with our O-line. No, there's not. Is there some things they got to clean up in the passing game? Yes, but they're fine. Mark Kemp says, I'm like you, Blake. Throw that hole down the field, probably meaning ball. Even the threat has got to benefit the rush. at some point, the double team's got to have to come off of Kayshawn. Guys, they're going to do it. I'm giving you a little bit of a heads up. Dwayne Official says, Blake, do you think JD be an elite pocket passer for a game? I think he can. Pooh Bear said this to me. He's not going to be able to join us tonight. You know what's crazy? All off season, we talked about how Jane Daniels can't hit intermediate passes. Now that's all he's doing. Isn't that chaotic? There was a show that you're probably watching right now who told you he could, but nevertheless, he's got to let it rip. Jane Daniels didn't meet with the media. Let me just read this. Let me just read this very quickly. Okay. Because, and look, you know what? We'll just do this. I will read this from Jane Daniels and Malik Neighbors out of the break. Everything that people are saying about and things we're getting sent in reference to the guys in the wide receiver room are mad at Jane Daniels or whatever somebody said. It's not true. It's not true. So we'll get to that as well, and I'll give you the keys. All right, couple comments before we get rolling. Rick, I'm just going to say Rick. He already told me how to say his last name, but I can't do it. On YouTube says, Carmichael is a liability, folks. Face it, not an NFL class OC. He trained under one, but he's not one. It's true. It's true. Semper says, Giselle ain't got shit. CHIT. My wife, y'all can have her. Damn, son. I kind of feel that about Megan, my wife, man. Well, hold on. I feel the same way. Giselle ain't got nothing on Megan. How you gonna tell a man he can't do what he loves? Jesus. Talk about narcissistic. Caleb says, hashtag Ask Blake, does our defense get yet another second half shutout? We'll see. I don't believe they will, but we'll see. All right, let's do this. Zach, are you ready to get rolling? Okay. If it's your first time joining us, Zach is one of our producers on the show. If you don't know what he looks like Tim Tebow. Just Google Tebow. And then Google Tebow from here up, and then Dr. Strange from here down. I think that's a great comparison. I think it's the best comparison, but nevertheless, let's get rolling. Everybody do us a favor and hit the like and share to all of those social media groups. Look at you all. I see you. I see the millions of AYS fans on Facebook, the millions on Twitter. Do us a favor, hit the like and share to all those Facebook groups. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, notification bell, all that great stuff. Share to Twitter, share to Facebook. We greatly appreciate that. If you're listening on XM Radio, TuneIn app, anywhere you listen to audio, podcast, rate, review, subscribe, and all that great stuff. And don't forget to subscribe to the AYS message board. I gave an LSU update, maybe some update on some players. And yesterday, I gave you some official visits, one that has been confirmed today as we spoke to him. So you can go to the message board, AYSSnetwork.com. That's AYSSnetwork.com to get all that. All right, let's do this. Let's pay these bills around this thing. None better than our good friends over at BetOnline.ag, who we'll talk about right out of the break as that LSU-Tennessee line continues to come down. And our good friends over at GM Varno & Sons, GMVarnoandsons.com. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. With over 65 years of experience, nobody is better equipped to service in your vehicle than GM Vardo & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. If you break down the side of the road in the greater Baton Rouge area, they will come and get you. And the best thing about that is that they can come and get you, and then they can bring your vehicle back to their shop and start the repairs right then. Again, GM Varno & Sons. Go see them over at 2500 Fuller Boulevard. Give them a call at 225-664-9992. 225-664-9992. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino sent you on by. So the players met with the media just now are at 6 o'clock. Here's some interesting notes. And so I told Zach this, and I told some people inside the group and on the forum. Look, Malik Neighbors pretty much said today that Jaden Daniels got in front of the team and said, guys, it's on me. Everything that you're hearing out there, all the offensive problems, put them on me. Neighbors harped on that in yesterday's wide receiver QB meeting that for quite some time, Jaden Daniels took the accountability and that they've made necessary adjustments and will continue to make necessary adjustments. Also, Jaden Daniels spoke. He says, if we eliminate self-inflicted wounds, we're going to be a good offense. I promise you. He says that him and Brian Kelly have spoke about being more aggressive downfield and taking advantage of one-on-one matchups. I believe, guys, holistically, they are going to do that. So, I'll get to the Ruffino's rants at some point during the show. Let me tell you how you're going to beat Tennessee. You got to do just that. Guys, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Major League 2, but remember when Pedro Serrano just couldn't get things going? And your boy that played in your guy that played in the Japan League comes over, played with the Giants, comes over. He goes up to Pedro Serrano and says, "You don't have no marbles." Guys, it's going to take a lot of marbles to come into this game and beat a top 10 team. You can do it. Look, Saturday in this postgame show, and I want you to remember this and think about this vividly. There's a chance that we can lose. Tennessee is a very, very, very good team. I also think LSU has the capability of being that as well. It's of my belief that if this team goes out there and has the belief, guys, this started yesterday. The key to the way to beat Tennessee does not happen on Saturday. It happens on practice Monday. So the reason I read you those clips, the reason I read you from Malik Neighbors and Jaden Daniels is because it starts yesterday. Guys, Brian Kelly, I say this religiously. The reason you pay him $90 million guaranteed is because when everything is hitting the fan around you, you still find ways to win. Guys, you're a 4-1 football team. You're an extra point away from arguably being undefeated in a transition year. Now, when you look at college football holistically, look at what's going on in Oklahoma under a first-year head coach. Look what's going on in Florida under a first-year head coach in the SEC and Billy Napier, a Power 5 first-time head coach. Look how long it took Kirby Smart to get things going in Georgia. This is not an easy transition. You have principles. You have things that you have to get accomplished. You have things that you have to do to make sure that in the future years, you can have a successful team. The reason that coaches have 3-year windows to get to a natty is because, guys, majority of the time, that's what it takes. The simple fact that you're 4-1 right now, when truthfully, you really don't have a lot of reason to be there. You should be either 3-2 or 2-3, but Brian Kelly's experience, Brian Kelly's staff, and these players have led LSU to 4-1. Now, what has to happen on the field? And Adam, I appreciate the super chat. I do appreciate this. Now, I don't know if that's Canadian dollars. I don't know what that is. What is the Canadian currency? My man's up in Canada. Are you drinking scotch with Drake? By the way, y'all see Drake's hair? He looks like a Colombian drug lord. He also said so himself. I mean, my man's looking like he walking out of a Dapper Dan movie. I mean, my man's looking fresh. You drinking scotch with your boy Drake? Anyway, here's how you have to beat Tennessee this Saturday. It's 3 little letters. Play your game. Play your game. Guys, LSU has busted a grape and has been able to run the football. John Emery's getting things going. Josh Williams is getting things going. Noah Cain, when you need the yard, he can get it for you. Offensive line's coming together. I'm not going to let this Auburn offensive performance from LSU worry me to the extent of where LSU can't go out here at 11 a.m. in Death Valley and clap some cheeks. The good thing is, if you're going to have a bad offensive performance, at least it comes in a win, and at least it comes in a situation where you're not playing a team like Tennessee. You can make those adjustments. But when I put in this Florida-Tennessee film, guys, Tennessee's front 7 can be moved around. Now, Memphis Spence, who's going to be on with us in about 10 minutes, he said this about Texas A&M and Miami a couple of weeks ago. I'm not saying Tennessee's defensive line is small, but they sure as hell get pushed around. They get pushed around more than a buggy at Walmart. Look, it's just the truth. They have the propensity to get pushed around. They get pushed around more than buggies at your local Walmart. Your Sunflower, your Winn-Dixie, your Rouse's, your Kroger, your, what do you call it? Sam's Club. Megan, where's that place we go? Oh, yeah, Costco. Target, for you women that listen here. By the way, never say the word Target in front of your wife. It's like cocaine to them. I mean, you're going to Target? You know, I mean, don't do that. You can win this game. I promise you. But you have to play your game. You have to go out there for 60 minutes. You can't start slow against Tennessee. You can't do it. You can't do it. You have the defense that can lead you to a place in a position to get you multiple stops, that can get you turnovers. You know, Hendon Hooker, for all that it's worth, and to his credit, 45 touchdowns and 2 interceptions as a starter is unbelievable. 45 passing touchdowns to 2 interceptions is unbelievable. Guys, he's due. 2 of his biggest weapons on the outside looks like they're going to be out. What if Kayshon Boutte and Malik Neighbors weren't in the game Saturday? How would you feel? Now, as our good buddies, and I will do this right here, as you see, as I'm pointing down to everyone listening to us on the radio and audio podcast platforms, I'm sorry, I'm pointing to the Bet Online moniker. Guys, that line Sunday night opened up at 4. An hour went by. I checked it again. It's 3.5. This morning, it's 2.5. Zachy, can you look up on betonline.ag? Use your mobile devices today to sign up using the promo code BELIEVE50. That's BELIEVE50. If that line has moved from 2.5, what do they know that we don't? I think when you pop in that Florida film, they got pushed around. Defensively, this comes from our good buddy Wilson Alexander from the Advocate. Guys, the back secondary has been really bad. Excuse me. Has been really bad. Tennessee ranks 128th in pass yards allowed per game, 309.3. Anthony Richardson's first game over 200 yards passing this year was against, guess who? Tennessee. You can do it. Here's the biggest factor in all of it, and we'll get to some of your comments. Here is the biggest factor in all of it. Nobody's talking about it. I don't hear, at least I don't hear it. I'm not saying you don't hear it because I'm not in everyone's shows like you are. I'm not listening to the national pundits. The only people I really listen to is the man that's going to be coming up here in 8 minutes and Bill King. It's funny how both of those guys are in Tennessee too. One's from Nashville, one's from Memphis. Is the Lord telling me something? Maybe I like people from Tennessee. I did date a girl from Tennessee once. It lasted 3 weeks, and thank God I got out of that. Man, I'm telling you, she was like chasing after me with like an axe. I mean, dude. By the way, side note, if you're going to date a girl from Tennessee, you better know how to drink moonshine, especially the blonde ones. If way down yonder in the Chattahoochee had a mascot, it would be a blonde woman from Tennessee. I promise you. Now, Memphis is probably going to leave and not come on the show if he's even listening. I don't know yet. As my producer, Zach, says, yes, he's listening. Okay. Oops. Memphis, I didn't say that. Wink, wink. The biggest thing in all of this, nobody's talking about Death Valley. Oh, well, Blake, it's not at night. Guys, you sold out on a Tuesday. I look at LSU being 4-0. Actually, they're 6-0 if you go back far enough in true 11 a.m. games against SEC opponents. I'm not counting Missouri in 2020 when a hurricane was hitting Louisiana and 12 hours before you had to move the game. No, I'm not counting that. Okay? While players were getting tested for COVID on the plane. No, I'm not doing that. 11 a.m. kickoffs have been historically really good for LSU. Guys, it's going to be loud. If you're going, you have to be loud. It's probably going to be a cool breeze down on the Mississippi. I don't know if Tennessee has been in a venue. Quite honestly, guys, I'll be just point blank and honest. I don't think Josh Heupel has been in a venue like he's going to see Saturday. Oh, well, Blake, he's been to Georgia. He's been to Alabama. I don't mean this in a wrong way. So what? Georgia, Bama, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, all of these teams in the SEC is not the drunk people that will be there at 11 a.m. on Saturday morning in Baton Rouge. I will also tell you this. I'm talking to coaches. I've talked to players. I've talked to staff. I've talked to medical staff, all within a 6-hour window today. I think Auburn might have been the best thing that happened to LSU. The offensive inefficiencies, because they're pissed. I will tell you this. My face comes on this station, or my voice comes on your station 6 days or 6 times a week. So you get to clip and post on Twitter things that I say that are right or wrong. You better be careful what you're commenting. A pissed off LSU team in Death Valley historically does not go well for other teams. Now, here's the flip side of that token. Here's the flip side of that coin. Tennessee, offensively, guys, they're a juggernaut. You can't take it away from them, nor should you. Josh Heupel, in my opinion, is one of, if not the best, offensive minds. I can make the argument in college football. Maybe outside of Lincoln, Lane Kiffin, whoever you want to call it. Some people are going to absolutely rip me alive for this. I think some people in coaching circles would even throw Dabo in that arena. What about Dabo? What? Guys, Clemson's undefeated again. Guess who's got a play sheet? Dabo's crazy ass. He beats your ass on a Saturday and praises Jesus on a Sunday. You have a tall task in front of you. You can do it. I don't think that, what's crazy is, and this game has always been one of the wildest scenarios every time LSU's played Tennessee. History goes to LSU. Some believe, which I agree with, guys, Nick Saban and LSU damn near killed the Philip Fulmer era. You know, Rohan Davey gets hurt. Here comes Matt Malk. And all Matt Malk does is quarterback draw, score after score, turnover after turnover. Clawson didn't have a chance in that game. He's throwing absolute dimes, and his receivers are getting butt cheek fart clapped. You want to get back to the LSU that you are? That's what you got to do. T-Bob Hebert snap. God bless T-Bob Hebert. 2010, Derek Dooley goes a 10-4 or 10-3. Guys, they had 10 defensive linemen on the field. Guys, they had 10 defensive linemen. I say quote-unquote defensive linemen. 10 guys with their hand in the dirt and 3 linebackers. T-Bob snaps the ball. You know the story. Goes over Justin Jefferson's head. Procedure penalty. Derek Dooley in his bright-ass orange pants, looking like a fat bowl of Fruity Pebbles, is running around like a chicken with his head cut off, and then it's a procedural penalty, and then here comes Stephen Ridley, and guess what Les Miles ran? Here we go. Toss dive. Who would have ever believed it? To the left side of the offensive line. Who would have ever thunk? And you won. It is also sometimes going Tennessee's way. Hurricane comes through. You got to play on a Monday. LSU goes up 20-0 or 21-0. Tennessee comes all the way back. This game has immense history. And let's not forget about the Ed Orgeron era. LSU goes up to Tennessee, and it's an absolute monsoon. LSU doesn't throw for over 100 yards in that game and wins. Guys, the field and the weather was so bad, the Jumbotron broke and fell down. True story. You remember it. I say not all of the Jumbotron, but the whole screen fell down. Danny Etling led you to a victory. This game has the history. To the LSU players, is our memo of the week. Get your popcorn ready. I'm not going to say that because Lane got his cheeks clapped when he said that to Saban. Get ready and believe. Just like this hat says, BLEAV, believe. All right. I lied. I said I was going to get to some of your comments before Memphis Spence. I lied. All right, we'll get to a couple of them. Preston Guy from TigerBait.com says, I was in high school for that game and accidentally assaulted a Tennessee fan when I threw my hat at him after losing. I mean, first off, let me just say this. This is the most white guy crime I've ever heard of. Zach, our producer, is this a white man crime? Yes or no?
It is, because I've done it before.
Thank you, Preston. I threw my hat at him, Daddy. Why? Well, what's your bail? Like $17? Well, what did you do with the $75 I gave for the game? I drank some Capri Suns, and I got a Lunchable. No, in Goodwill, Preston went and got him some Jack Daniels. All right, 2 more. Ryan Guidry says the offense will break loose. I hope so. The mayor says we can't throw for 5 yards in the second half and be the top 10 team. I agree. Guys, we focus so much on one game. Relax. It's going to be okay. Last one. Chance Babin says Memphis is an outlier. That ain't mountain people. Oh, that blonde chick, Chance. Mountain as they come. I'm talking. That's not a banjo. Like when I first saw her, I thought she chewed tobacco. I swear to God. I mean, look, we're in Louisiana, okay? Why are you guys laughing, bro? Why are you guys laughing, dude? Come on, bro. Tennessee's good people. Are you talking about Preston? Yeah, white man crime. That's what you call white collar crime. All right, I'm done. I'm making fun of Preston. Guys, you know he's got a show on Tuesdays. You know I'm like to mess with him. He's younger than me. I feel like I'm a big brother. Okay, let's do this, Zachy. Let's talk about a good friend, Carol Falls, over at State Farm. Memphis Spence has LSU ranked number 15, and he knows a lot about Tennessee. Guys, why does he have LSU so high? We talk to him next. Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Falls and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Falls has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirements. The GOAT. Memphis, I regret. I love Tennessee women. I just had a very bad experience with one. I apologize if my
Gotta watch it.
Gotta watch it. So you know where I'm coming from here.
Yeah. Gotta watch them women, man. Those Tennessee women, you gotta, whether it's moonshine or bourbon, you gotta watch those, especially the ones in Nashville, because they're just out there the ones in Memphis, they might throw hands with you. You know what I'm saying? And the ones in Knoxville, they all got guns.
But listen, we're not talking about like pistols. We're talking about we're talking about the heavy artillery.
They got AK-47s out there. They got all kinds of rifles.
And we're not talking about
how to use them. They know how to use them, Blake. You know what I'm saying? They don't play out there. You got to watch them. You got to watch those Tennessee gals.
Listen, it was the most eventful 3 weeks of my entire life. I don't regret any of it, but I'm glad I'm out of there alive. Memphis.
Yeah.
I got to ask you this, and Zach, I'm going to put this up on the screen. So Memphis, just so our listeners, I know a lot of them already know, but just in case they don't, you obviously come out with your top 16 every single week. We're going to put it on the screen here for all of the viewers. You have LSU number 15.
Yes.
I want to start there. A lot of people were asking questions, and we talked on Twitter about, obviously I'm going to bring you on. It's football season, baby. But you have the Tigers that high. Why do you have them that high after what maybe you saw at Auburn?
So sometimes I see trends, right? And I'm a defensive guy. There's a lot of people that do offense. I'm a defensive guy. I see defensive trends. I started seeing LSU after that FSU game. They really started shutting down teams after halftime. If you go back and start looking at the game since that first FSU game, which might as well be a preseason game, LSU, I don't know if they've given up 17 points in the second half since then.
They have not.
If you're going to score on LSU, it's going to be in the first half. Well, that bodes – that's not a good thing for Tennessee. I really expect Tennessee to lose this game. I started looking at it because, there's a lot of Tennessee folks that still listen to my show, and they're like, well, what's going to happen, Memphis Spence? I'm like, it's not looking good, guys. Y'all about to go to Death Valley, and y'all can't tackle. You just can't tackle. They play a 4-2-5. They play a 4-2-5 just like Memphis because they can't tackle, and they still can't tackle. That's why they're giving up that many yards. And how are they going to – I'm not saying that Pitt's best receivers now at, USC.
USC, right.
Let's throw that out there. I'm not saying they don't have anybody that you need to tackle. Same thing, I give respect to Florida and their receivers also, but they ain't Kayshon Boutte. I mean, they're going to have to – if they don't tackle you guys, they're going to give up like 400 yards. This may be, honestly, I was looking to see if there was going to be a breakout game this year for Jaden Daniels in terms of his arm, in terms of actual yardage. This might be it, honestly, because up front, Tennessee gets pushed around, but they're still pretty good at stopping the run. They're pretty decent at stopping the run. Passing wise, they're not. And they've had the score.
Memphis, to really interrupt you, it should be the opposite.
Right.
It should be the opposite.
Most of the Tennessee teams that you've seen, it is the opposite, basically. You know, they're susceptible to the run, but they have some lockdown corners, you know. And we've known some, you know, they have Hall of Famers at safety and everything else. They do not have anybody back there, guys. And this is we know that DBU does two things very well. They do, you know, secondary, and they do receivers because they have to play against each other. I mean, that's just iron sharpening iron. So when you see those two, when a team is very weak against that and they're going to your home, I expect that line, honestly, to be somewhere close to negligent when the game kicks off, because I came on Monday and people were asking me, I was like, that's a pick 'em to me. I've looked at this game inside and out. It's a pick 'em. And it really comes down to whether or not Jaden Daniels and the offense can score in the fourth quarter and whether or not Tennessee can tackle. That's basically it. But the defense and the second half adjustments, whatever's going on in the locker room at halftime, I'm impressed. That's why you guys are 15. I started looking through these teams. I'm like, well, there are teams with early season wins. There are other 4-1 teams, but who's the best four? I have three on that 16. I have three teams that are 4-1. Wake Forest. I
noticed that.
Yeah. Wake Forest is one of them. And Wake Forest, they're offensively, they're one of the most dominant teams in America. And people don't know it, but they took that Clemson squad, which is really good. They took them to overtime. And that same Clemson squad came back and beat the brakes off of, well, at least decisively won against NC State. The other team that's 4-1, I believe, is Oregon. And Oregon's done a lot since that, you know, since they got clapped. They've done a lot since then.
Great verbiage. Great adjective. Great adjective.
Right. But then I started looking around. I was like, well, who's next? Is it K-State? I mean, they beat Oklahoma, but then TCU walked in there and really beat Oklahoma. So I was like, well, it's not really K-State.
And Kansas State lost to Tulane, which
right.
You know,
right. Yeah, exactly. I was just like, well, you know, who's better? Tulane, they're also 4-1, or LSU. You know, you start looking at NC State, right? And NC State, I'm like, well, they had a worse loss. I mean, they really got handled. So I think the best 4-1 team right now in the country is LSU. And I think you guys are going to actually show people that on Saturday. Early game, whatever. Tennessee hasn't really won at Death Valley since 2005, I believe.
Yeah, the Hurricane game. Right.
I was a young Memphis Spence, but I was just got out of college a couple years before that, you know. Still interviewing Hugh Freeze and everything down in Memphis. So. You know.
One day, I'm going to share the DMs I have of Hugh Freeze ripping me alive or attempting to. And I said, hold on, coach, I got a hooker on the other line. He didn't respond, and he unfollowed me. But regardless, that's neither here nor there. We'll get to that to another day. Hugh, DM me back. Memphis. So I don't know if you heard. Look, what's so crazy is they have been good statistically, Tennessee, in the running game. Do you think, number one, it's because teams have to throw the ball to keep up with them, and they get into what I call the Josh Heupel game, meaning you feel like you have to throw with them? That's number one. But number two, there was, and I brought this up last night, and I'm trying to find this comment, and but it's from Chris Foster. Tennessee is second in yards per carry allowed in the conference. So it's crazy to me that statistically the total rush yards aren't a lot from the defense. But when I pop on that film, Memphis, you said this about Miami a couple of weeks ago when everyone was picking Miami over Texas A&M. Their defensive line at times in the second half seems to get pushed around a lot, and why Florida was able to come back. Now, a bye week for Tennessee, I think, is a huge plus. Hendon Hooker gets to, get healthy. Tillman's still out, though. We'll see how that goes. I guess my overall question for you is, number one, do you think that LSU can really, really dominate and keep that offense off the field? And number two, do you think that teams just get into the lull of having to score with Josh Heupel and that's why they lose?
Let me ask you. Let me answer your second question first.
Okay.
Yes, Heupel ball is what we used to call it in the American Athletic Conference, and the thing that you don't want to do. And see, the good thing is you got Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly's when I used to cover him at Cincinnati, dude is smart and
Highly intelligent.
He figures these things out really quickly, and that's why those second half adjustments have been stellar this year. But you don't want to play Heupel ball. You can't beat Heupel at Heupel ball. That's what he does. And if you get into this game where it's anything you can do, I can do better in terms of scoring, that's not the game LSU wants to play. It's not. Because Heupel's going to figure out there are so many games that they were just running up the score. And, Memphis versus UCF, you look at the score, you're like, man, they're playing basketball now. It's 55-62. What are we doing here? We don't want to play into that game. We wanted a better defensive game because you can always beat Heupel with defense. And it didn't take, if you figure out how to stop him in the first half, I think this is going to be this may be a surprising victory to a lot of people. But LSU has the horses to do it. But yes, to answer your second question, yes, people have been playing Heupel ball, even Pitt. Pitt went in there with a good defense and started playing Heupel ball. I'm like, what are you guys doing? This doesn't make Kenny Pickett is on the Steelers, guys. He's not there anymore. Stop playing Heupel ball with Heupel. So don't get into a score. Don't try to get into a scoring battle with that guy. He'll figure out some really crazy plays to pull on you, trick plays and everything else. So that needs to happen. But back to your first question, getting off the field. So Tennessee really isn't that great at possessing the ball. They score quickly a lot of times. And I think LSU wouldn't have any problems actually controlling the pace of the game, which is what needs to happen. If LSU controls the pace of the game, and they can do that, RPO or whatever, they can control the pace of the game. They can start using the players that they have to kind of widen out that defense a little bit more. The wider, none of the secondary, and I hate to say this, I told a booster this today. I was like, guys, your secondary can't tackle in space.
They can't. Memphis, it is horrendous.
It's horrendous. And I was just like, man, this is really bad. How are they winning? Oh, they're playing Heupel. He's tricking these teams into playing Heupel ball. I can outscore you. But if you've noticed, they've needed to score 30 some odd points to win these games. They're giving up. They gave up 27 points, I think, to Pitt, and went into overtime with a backup quarterback. Georgia Tech walked into Pitt last week and held them to 21, and they fired their coach. I mean, these teams are getting tricked into playing Heupel ball, and you can't do that. Brian Kelly will not play that game with them. I promise you that.
So here's an interesting thing. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Ed Orgeron had the perfect game plan against Josh Heupel in his second to last season at UCF.
Okay.
They had LSU. I get that Joe Burrow got hit and went completely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I get that.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
But Steve Ensminger, LSU's former offensive coordinator, I'll share this now, went to Orgeron 3 weeks before the game and said, Ed, we are going to run the football until we can't run the football anymore. LSU's time of possession Memphis, was 44 minutes and 31 seconds. 44 minutes and 31 seconds. I went back and listened to Josh Heupel's interview after that game. He said, I'm mentally exhausted. You know why Heupel was mentally exhausted? Because it drives him insane when he can't do what he wants to do. I'm not telling LSU to not go tempo. I'm telling you to do what LSU did in 2018. LSU had walk-ons starting at DB during that game.
Yeah.
My point is, look, I get it's at UCF, but the formula remains the same. If you hold on to the ball long enough, you will win the game. I thought that was an interesting stat when that brought up. Yeah. Let me ask you this, because you said that you Monday on your show, and I heard this, and because I'll be listening.
I know.
You said you think Tennessee can come in here and lose. I know you talked about on the field. How much does Tennessee coming into Death Valley in that stadium, do you think that that's a huge factor? And if it is a huge factor, how big of a factor does it play in for you?
It's something. Listen, I'm a defensive guy. I'm defense wins championships. Defense travels, right? They don't have a defense that can travel. Their defense is their secondary is abysmal. I started looking at my terrible Memphis defense because we got torched by Mississippi State, and that's kind of one of the things I was looking at. I was looking at our film, and then I was looking at LSU. I looked at our film and looked at LSU. I'm like, they're so much better in their secondary than we are. And that's when I was just like, let's see what Mississippi State, good old Will Rogers, people are looking at him from quarterback. I was on your show last time and I was telling you that one of my friends, one of the scouts, NFL scouts, was going to be at that game just seeing what Will would do against DBU, because those are legit DBs and safeties that may be in the NFL. And they wanted to see exactly what his performance was going to be. But we saw.
Side note. Your report was confirmed by ESPN 32 seconds into the first quarter. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. Well, yep. Because I know these guys. These are the guys I know.
Memphis breaking more news on AYS. Go figure.
I know these guys. So, that's why we do it. They want to see actual competition. We know that, Hendon Hooker can, put up all these points against also ran defenses, but they want to actually see what they can do. A lot of people use DBU as one of the Clemson also. When you go up against Clemson, when you go up against DBU, they're looking at the quarterbacks and what they're doing against them, because basically if you can't do it against these two defenses, these two college defenses, Ohio State's another one, then you're not going to be able to do it in the NFL. You're just not. And it's a real life test as to what you're going to be able to do in the NFL. Let's see what Hooker does. Hooker is honestly, he's covering a multitude of sins for Tennessee right now. And those sins are mostly on defense. They've given up. It's been egregious. And I just don't know how it stops. Unless Tennessee figures out something to do defensively against LSU, and LSU doesn't shoot themselves in the foot, and there's no major injuries, I think this is an LSU game to lose. I'm guessing that LSU is going to win this game, and probably significantly. It may surprise some folks on a 10, 13-point win by LSU, because if you don't see Tennessee with at least 21 points at halftime, it's unlikely that they're going to score more than 3 to 10 points in the second half, because nobody else does.
If they beat Tennessee that badly, are they in your top 8?
They'll definitely not be 15. They'll move. They'll move up. They'll move up. I don't know where though.
Would they just replace Tennessee? Could you flip flop them?
I could.
Memphis 13 points against that team.
Okay, let's look like this. That would be the highest that they go up. That would be the ceiling. It would really depend on what those other teams in front of them did as well. But that
Okay.
would be the ceiling for the next week would be 8 for LSU.
Memphis. Let me tell you this.
Okay.
If LSU beats Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sending you an LSU hat, an LSU shirt, LSU pants, and LSU slides, and you're going to wear it next time you come on the show. Okay? That's the arrangement we have. And if they lose, you don't have to send me a damn thing. That's just what we're gonna do.
I don't have any Vol stuff, my friend. We don't do that in this house.
You don't wear orange?
I haven't been to prison, man. Thank God. Thank God. Listen, man. Look, the Vol Nation's gonna hate me.
Walmart. You're not taking McDonald's bags full of cash.
I'll take a bag full of cash now. It's cash. But I'm not taking it. I mean, McDonald's bags full of cash. No, I'm not taking this. But so Tennessee, the way that they can win this game is they have to score early and they have to score often. If they do that and they tackle, they can win this game. But I'm saying this is 60-40 LSU. I think LSU probably has a 60% chance of winning this game. Tennessee about 40, and that line's probably going to move more because as the odd makers put on the film and they start looking at what we already know, they're going to see the same thing. They're like, man, if Tennessee doesn't score more than 30 points, they're not going to win this game.
Yeah, and ESPN has the same thing you do, Memphis. They had the FPI at 58.4, and the FPI for ESPN right now, I think, is 117 and like 6 over the last, I think, week and a half, 2 weeks. I mean, it's insane how that FPI works.
Yeah. And, I'm running some of the same. I run my own models, but, I agree with that. I'm serious. That's basically what it looks
consistent with what you're seeing is what I'm trying to allude to.
Yep.
Memphis, I got a question here from Rick, though. I want to get this to you before we can get you out of here because we're kind of crunched on time.
Okay.
Rick says, #AskSpence. Can you address the preseason ranked college football teams that are no longer ranked? There's a lot of them. Let me put my twist on that. I guess he's talking about Oklahoma.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There is a lot. What do you make of that?
So, how preseason rankings, and I don't really like preseason. I don't even like, now that I'm a national voter and I have been for a couple of years now, I don't even like preseason rankings because there's not really any true data points for this year's team to actually rank last year's team off of. So basically what I do, I can tell you how I come up with mine and why teams are ranked. I start looking at who are in New Year's Six Bowls, right? Who is in the playoffs, who is in New Year's Six Bowls. If you were in a New Year's Six Bowl, whether you won or lost, and you were in one of the college football playoffs, even if you got swept out of the first round, then you're on my slate, right? Then I start picking through those teams and see who you lost. Who did you lose to the NFL? All right. If you lost a lot of teams to the NFL, like Cincinnati, and I know that Cincinnati's not really a top 20 recruiter, then I'm going to have to move you up out, right? But if you are like Alabama, Georgia, it doesn't matter whether or not you lose 15, guys to the NFL, if you got 15 4 and 5 stars coming in. If you're top 5, top 10 recruiting college, then you're still there. We start looking at spring game stuff. Okay, how are these pieces going to fit together? And you take all of that, you jumble it up, and then you have a preseason top 25. It doesn't really, and I was telling somebody else this the other day as well. Last year kind of factors into who's ranked this year for about the first 4 or 5 games. There's it's weighted to last year, what we remember from last year. In that by the time you get into your regular season schedule, your resume should be able to stand on your own.
I agree with that.
That's when game 5, game 6, and this is the reason why the BCS doesn't even start ranking until game 7. Game 5, game 6, we really have a lot of data points to say, okay, this team is better or we get to get this team out of here. I don't even know why Miami's on this list, And that's basically what we do to take those different data points and start actually filtering these teams in or out based on what their performance is this year. But we can't do it off of one game. Can't be, recency biased or anything like that. There has to be a number of data points that we take from this year. And usually after 4, 5, people start getting comfortable ranking teams higher. I happen to be on the front end. I trend a lot of stuff. There was one other guy on the AP that has LSU ranked 15 as well. But I'm kind of like a trend guy. I kind of see things before other people see them, and folks catch up. I do that with my trading. I do that in a lot of stuff in life, honestly. And I see the LSU defense.
You mean like Will Wade getting popped?
I had a little information on that one.
I know you did. But
I like to, kind of forecast these things that I see. I'm an analyst. I'm a legal analyst, financial analyst, sports analyst. Those are all the things that I do in actual life. I do all of these different jobs, put on different hats. That's what I do. I'm like, okay, I see how this is going to work, and I'll let people know about them. I'm an analyst. So I started seeing LSU's defense trending, and I'm like, nobody's scoring in the second half. Nobody's scoring in the second half. What did they do against Will Rogers? Oh, he can't score in the second half? He's supposed to be one of these NFL quarterbacks. What do you mean he can't score? Okay, LSU's defense is handling business. They're allowing for, they're actually covering up a lot of sins as well on offense.
A lot.
Honestly. But defense always keeps you in games. It keeps you around. It keeps you close. And I think LSU's defense, especially with the way that Tennessee plays, it's going to be a buzzsaw. It's going to hit them, and they're not going to know what to do just because of how they play this game. Also, like I said, if the Vols can't tackle, this game might get out of hand quick at Death Valley.
All right, I got one last question for you.
Sure,
I need
sure.
you to do me a favor.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to flip-flop 3 and 5.
Hey, somebody asked me this the other day, and I forgot who it was. It was someone. I think it was an Iowa booster, I think, and they were like, "Is Clemson top 3?" And I was like, "Yes, most likely." It's like, who are they better than? I don't know yet. That's why I haven't ranked them at number 3. They're likely the third best team in the nation. I just don't know if they're better than Michigan. I don't know if they're better than Georgia. I don't know yet. Once they show me something, because NC State, I don't know how good NC State is, and Wake Forest did take them to overtime. I'm like, I don't know. That must mean Wake Forest is actually good, but they're going to have to show me a little bit more, or those teams, or Georgia and Michigan will show me a little bit less, and Clemson can get bumped up.
Historically, teams that face top 25 opponents back-to-back weeks historically lose one of those games. It's actually at a 92% clip. Memphis, since the playoffs were enacted and BCS was enacted, teams that find ways to beat multiple top 25 opponents either on the road or at home in back-to-back weeks make the playoffs or the BCS, it goes up by 75%. I think that they're finding a little bit of a stride. I think their defense is coming together a little bit. But the thing about Michigan is they got some dudes up front that can absolutely maul you if you're not paying attention. That would be a fun game to watch. If you got a 4 versus 5 matchup in a 12-team playoff, I'm tuning into that game because I think it's just an absolute clap fest up front. I can't argue with what your logic is right there. You know that I'm just on this Clemson train because, look, at the end of the day, my thing is this, Memphis. Dabo is maybe who he is, and people hate him. At the end of the day, he's a damn good football coach. And here's the thing: everybody ripped him that it's only Brent Venables
or Scott
or who's your boy Virginia or Tony, or it's Tony Elliott,
right?
The thing about great coaches, I don't think Memphis, and I'll ask you this, and I'll get you out of here. Mm-hmm. I don't think people realize how hard it is to win multiple national titles with different quarterbacks. I don't think they fully understand it. It's words coming out of their mouth, but the brain, the light's not on. Do you agree with that?
That's 100% true. I mean, that's like a jockey winning the Kentucky Derby with two different horses. It's one of the hardest things to do. You have to learn you have to know that person. And that's what Dabo's really good with, right? He's good with the personalities. He's good with the different quarterbacks. He's good at getting into their brain, figuring out what makes them tick, figuring out where they're better. Okay, this guy does this very well. Let's exploit that against everybody. And he knows that better than probably anybody else. He's probably one of the best coaches out there that actually does that. And he knows how to motivate you. That's the other thing. Coaches, and I know people, they're like, oh, Dabo is about a lot of rah-rah. But if you think back to when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, man, there are some dudes that were coaching you up that you'd run through the wall for. Dabo's one of those guys. And if you're in a situation where you're down, you're looking for motivation on the road, you don't got 50,000 fans, whatnot. Dabo's one of those guys that can get in there and do one of those Disney, movie speeches and get you ready to
gain another yard.
Right. And he's one of those guys that can get you motivated to do superhuman stuff with your average talent. And he's been making, he started off with 3 and 4 stars, and now he's getting 5 stars. But Clemson wasn't. Back in the day, Clemson wasn't getting any 5 stars. You know that.
In Memphis, he's just good enough schematically that he can be that dangerous. That's the difference. That is the difference with Dabo. All right, I'm not going to keep you away from your family any longer. My wife appreciates that. What's that now?
My wife appreciates that.
Oh, I know. Tell her to, tell her to be watching LSU at 11 a.m. because, I'm going to send you a whole baggie full of good LSU goodies if they win. So no prison orange in the Spence household. That's what I hear.
Not here. We don't go to prison at this house. we try.
All right. You're out of here, buddy. Thank you so much. We'll catch you again next week.
All right, man. Be good, guys.
You too. That's Memphis Spence joining us. Let's do this, and then we'll get out of here. Let's talk about our good friends over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Guys, we return in 45 seconds.
By the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Whether you've been injured in an accident, you're preparing for a future with your estate planning, you're getting ready to close in on a real estate deal, or you're about to welcome a new addition through adoption into your family, or you're facing criminal charges, you need very experienced attorneys, and that is what the Drake Williams Law Firm will be able to do for you in navigating the legal system. The door to their cozy office in historic downtown Ponchatoula has been open since 1981. They have helped thousands and thousands of Louisiana families and individuals win cases, close on real estate deals, and regain that peace of mind. Their lawyers over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, are very determined, compassionate, and dedicated to their craft. It's the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by.
I'm to the verge where I'm almost out on Dennis Allen. Man, look, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should give Dennis Allen more time. Maybe I'm shooting from the hip too quickly. But I think I'm done. You're 4 games in, you're 1-3. And the thing for me is that this team's just so badly coached, so poorly coached. Even from the front office stuff, I know that Latavius Murray, they offered him to come and be on the active roster. He goes to the Broncos. I get all this stuff. But, man, it aggravates me so much to watch what the Saints are doing. I've seen this movie before. Guys, we literally lived through this movie last year. We lived through the movie of LSU trying to recreate something After winning a national title or having a lot of success, Sean Payton leaves, you bring in Dennis Allen, or keep Dennis Allen, you promote him, you keep the defensive staff, you keep Chris Richard, Ryan Nelson, you promote Pete Carmichael, all this stuff. Guys, tell me what the real difference is between them and Ed Orgeron and LSU. Hiring Jake Peets and DJ Mangas, trying to recreate 2019. Guys, we've seen this movie. We've seen this movie. It doesn't bode well. Now, does that mean that Dennis Allen can't fire back and this team can't make the playoffs? No, it doesn't mean that. But the bottom line is this. I am not sold on Dennis Allen. He was a losing head coach at the Raiders. He's a losing head coach right now for the New Orleans Saints. There are parts of this game in the NFL that you have to be so technically advanced. The margin of error is so small, and they're just doing all the wrong things. You know, how long were you going to allow Justin Jefferson to clap your absolute cheeks up and down the field before you started at least doing some things to bracket coverage him, double cover him, whatever you got to do? You can't get things moved offensively. You put all your eggs in the basket for Jameis Winston. It's backfiring. It's backfiring. Now, I'm not completely off the Jameis Winston trade, but, man, the best team in the NFL right now in the Philadelphia Eagles has your first-round pick that more than likely can be a top 10 pick. And you're not going to have it. For what? So you can't get the ball to Chris Olave, or what is it? Schematically, Pete Carmichael's not a good coach. I told you on Believe in Saints all offseason, and nobody wanted to believe your boy. Nobody wanted to believe me. Pete Carmichael is not a good offensive coordinator, and he's going to have to change things. Well, Blake, he's limited in what he has. So what? So are a lot of other teams. You know what's funny is Peyton Manning threw ducks all season, and they found ways to win games. Chris Olave may be a top 10 receiver, David. He may be a top 10 receiver. But, man, you can't tell me. Look, you can blame the refs all you want. You can blame the refs all you want. And I get what you're saying. But the refs had nothing to do with Justin Jefferson clapping your cheeks. Nothing. I told you, man. I told you. Maybe next time you'll listen. Zach, let's get out of here. We'll see you tomorrow. My name's Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports. Don't forget to share it. We'll see you tomorrow.